Welcome, everybody, to Leading Colorado, presented by BBVA. I'm Tom Green, and I am excited to be your virtual MC today. Of course, things have happened in the last year. COVID came. We all learned to use masks, use Zoom. That was when we got together last year. This year, I've arranged for a large snowstorm to hit at the end of this event, so thank me again. 9 News, of course, proud to recognize a Leader of the Year since 1999, and we've been honored to partner with the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation since back in 2006 on this award. Of course, last year, when we did gather, it was really the last time that many of us got a chance to gather in person as we honored the 2020 9 News Leader of the Year, Jerome Davis. Of course, things changed over these last 365 days, but here we are. COVID-19 had locked us all down. Well, if ever there was a time that actual leadership was needed, 2020 certainly demanded it. Coloradans, though, did pull together to take care of each other, and they did it because of strong leaders like these 9 News Leader of the Year finalists all stepped up. You're going to hear the inspiring stories of Adib Khan, Jesse Ogus, and Lori Rabinowitz, and how their leadership journeys prepared them for what we saw in 2020. We welcome you to join the conversation with us as well, both in the chat and also on social media. You can use the hashtag HowCOLeads, and you can also check out at 9 News, of course, and at Den Leadership. Now, to kick off Leading Colorado, please welcome Leadership Foundation Executive Director Dan Lewis. Dan?
Hey, thanks, Tom. It's great to be wherever we are. Wish I could say it's good to see all of you out there, but I can't. I'm still really glad that you've joined us. And as always, as you know, this is a big day for the Leadership Foundation. We all come together as alumni, and we're just so grateful to 9 News to have you as a wonderful partner in recognizing our amazing civic leaders and the way that they work to lead here in Colorado. I want to give a special thanks to the team at 9 News, to Mark Cornetta and to Blair Nelson, to Leslie Linscott, Brian Elo, and the entire 9 News team. They produced all the amazing videos that you're going to see here today, and they did it with a lot of passion, a lot of heart to tell these great stories. And of course, I'm not going to miss my personal opportunity here to congratulate our finalists, all of whom I know personally, and just so delighted to see Adib and Jesse and Lori standing up for all of us today as leaders in this community. You're inspiring us to move forward with lots of hope and to prepare for all the good that's going to come. This was definitely a time for leadership. It's really kind of strange, as Tom said, to think back a year ago. I mean, we were in the convention center. Nobody was hugging and nobody was shaking hands even. A lot of fist bumping and elbow rubbing. And here we are, now completely virtual. But I look forward to the day when we do come back together again. And I think we learned a lot about ourselves, about leadership in this past year. I'd like to think that one of the upsides, if there's an upside to all of this, is that we did have time to reflect, a lot of introspection on ourselves, on our role as leaders, and how we can carry Colorado's civic DNA forward, even in tough times, through our organizations and all the way through our communities. And I remind you of the 5 values of Colorado's civic DNA. The first 2, inclusivity and shared vision. Pausing on those for just a moment to think about our realization that we're not as inclusive as we thought we were and not as inclusive as we'd like to be, and that our vision maybe is not as shared as it needs to be. And it's good that we've achieved that awareness and that we're coming together to work on that. And then the next 2 values that I just want to remind you of is our sense of responsibility and collaboration in this community. And those 2 go together in a big way. This was such an important year for collaboration and for the deep sense of responsibility that all of the Leadership Foundation alumni in our community have for the challenges that face us. And you look at the amazing results of, say, Colorado Gives Day this year, $50 million, a record raised from individual donations in a recognition of its time to come together, and many people suffering themselves and their families, but still willing to engage, to collaborate, to make our community better. And then the 5th value, of course, is leadership, a very unique kind of leadership here in Colorado where you give up power to get things done. And that really came through this year. I think we can be very proud of the leadership that we've seen. And by the way, that's what we're here to celebrate today. So let's get on with that. Yes, it was a time for introspection, and that is very important for each of us, but it was also a time for action. I'd like to remind you all that in this past year, we had a lot of engagement in our programs, and we were able to keep the program strong because of all of you helping to recruit participants, nearly 600 into our programs. That doesn't even count the 450 or so who came to our Virtual Voices programs to open up a conversation about leaders during the pandemic and to address a lot of the social justice issues that needed more conversation. The pandemic has taught us that we still engage, regardless of what challenges we face, and I think that's the strength of our community. In addition to that, a lot of our alumni were involved in volunteering. A lot of you out there managed to find ways to continue volunteering, even if it was virtual, and I'm just so proud of this, that there were folks from our community involved in virtual volunteer activities, 360 thank you cards that were sent to frontline workers in our community, Leadership Denver, Impact Denver, project teams that worked on 26 community projects this past year, volunteering over 5,000 hours to get that done. And I don't want to leave this topic of volunteering and engagement without mentioning the work of BCivic, the BCivic members and the BCivic team who work to connect businesses with very special heightened needs in this community. 13 virtual events to try to address some of the challenges that were there. All of that tells us that as a community, we've learned a lot during this time. We have much more to learn, but that we are strong when we come together to collaborate and to get things done. So the foundation going forward has made a deep commitment to education, to understanding, and to action to build a more inclusive leadership community here in the Metro Denver region. We're taking that responsibility deeply and seriously, also to address concerns around racial equity through all of our programs. And it's time for that, probably past time, but we've made a deep commitment and we're working on it. A good example of this is that BCivic, along with the Denver Metro Chamber, the Downtown Denver Partnership, Colorado Inclusive Economy, the Prosper Colorado movement, have all come forward to put forward a CEO pledge in the community to unite against racism in our community. Over 140 companies have now signed that pledge, and those CEOs are activating that pledge to make positive change in our community, to make us stronger, to make us more inclusive, and we're very proud of that work. I would also mention that you in particular made a major contribution to the futures of leaders in our community through your investment in our Leading Colorado Scholarship Fund. It's remarkable this year. We've always had a scholarship fund to try to encourage people to engage in our programs who perhaps couldn't afford the tuition. This year, we had an increase of over 100% demand from folks asking for scholarship support, and our alumni stepped forward. You raised almost $85,000 that we were able to give in scholarships, 67 scholarships awarded, and we engaged a lot of folks who otherwise wouldn't have a chance to be a part of the conversation, to be the leaders of the future in our community. We also built a partnership with TIDE, the TIDE Leadership Roundtable, with its focus on inclusivity and equity. This is a business-led effort to increase the amount of effort on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts across our community. It's so important that the business community step up and take a leadership role in this, and that is what you all have made possible through your support of the Leadership Foundation and BCivic in this past year. We want to make sure that everybody can lead from where they stand, and so the Leading Colorado Scholarship Fund supports people, as I mentioned, who are ready to lead but perhaps don't have access. So we want to take down those barriers. We're going to invite any of you who'd like to be a part of that effort, part of that movement to raise funds for the Scholarship Fund, to step forward and help contribute to the Scholarship Fund today. Your donations will make a big difference Whether you've been in a program or maybe you're here with us for the first time, we invite you to be a part of our alumni community and to support the Leading Colorado Scholarship Fund. You can do that by going to denverleadership.org/donate. Now would be a good time to ensure that more leaders have access. Every penny that we raise today will in fact go into the Leading Colorado Scholarship Fund. So you can be ensured that what you're doing to pay it forward will make a difference for people. So before we move on, I want to give a special thank you to our amazing sponsors who have also contributed to make sure that the work, the mission of the Leadership Foundation continues and remains strong. And we're just so grateful to each of them for what they've done to support today, despite the fact that they knew they weren't going to even get a fist bump out of this. They continue to support us and make this day a success before we even turned on the cameras. And so a special thank you to our presenting sponsor, BBVA, who's been loyal to the efforts of the Leading Colorado Luncheon year after year. We're just so grateful to BBVA. Thank you to 9 News, our media sponsor. As I mentioned, they tell the stories, and their video production team has really put a lot of effort into some of the things we want to share with you today. Thank you to them. And also thank you to our visionary sponsors. The 3 of them are presenting to you today our 3 finalists, our 3 amazing storytellers, our 3 amazing leaders. So it's Coors Brewing Company, KeyBank, and TIAA. Thank you for being truly visionary sponsors of Leading Colorado. Also would like to thank our galvanizing sponsors who have made sure that this event would be a success even before we started. BKD, Community First, Delta Dental, Suncor, and of course the Denver Business Journal, who again has been one of our loyal supporters for years. And in fact, in the follow-up email from today's event, you're going to get a link to the Denver Business Journal special section about our finalists. We had interviews with them. You're going to want to read this and hear their stories again. Thank you also to all of our supporting sponsors. Those names are going to appear on the screen. They each have made a major contribution to keep us going and make today a success. Thank you to CEFCO, our production crew. They're behind the scenes here. They're the only people I can see right now. CEFCO has really stretched themselves to make this an engaging and interesting day for all of us. So now you're going to hear from a couple of our Leadership Foundation alumni who are going to share with you at this really important time in our lives what leadership means to them. Thank you.
I used to think that leadership was about being very strategic. Over time, I have learned that leadership is really about the ability to lead others.
Influence is what I think about when I think about leadership. People listen to you, you have influence to make changes that way, but then there's also those informal leaders who have that influence naturally.
When you can move an entire team forward in an inspired way that is also clear and focused, you've got something great going on.
I admire authenticity and boldness. When you think about the monumental changes that have happened, throughout the nation and the world, these are people that were bold and authentic instead of for what was right and what they believed in.
There's a lot of traits I admire in leaders, but I think some of the most important ones are humility. I also admire leaders who can stand their ground.
It's important for Denver to have a strong network of leaders because you can only go so far alone.
If we have an entire city where at every level we have people who are able to really perform at their best, and probably more importantly, work together and collaboratively towards shared goals, then we're unstoppable. We can do anything in this city that we set our minds to.
When I think about giving back, I think about people that paved the path for me to make it a little bit easier, essentially held the door open for me. So yeah, as we go forward, it's important for us to hold that door open for somebody else.
This year has been about recognizing the humanity in us all, and that's not only okay, but that's a place from which we can draw strength.
Now it's time to be bold. Now it's time to be authentic. Now it's time to get involved.
And joining us now is the CEO of the Colorado market of BBVA. Please welcome Andy Wykstra.
Opportunities. When you run a business, they're always coming your way. BBVA is your bank for seizing the opportunities that matter most to you. For a financial partner that takes a hands-on approach to support your business, BBVA is your bank.
Hello, my name is Andy Wykstra, and I'm the Colorado Market CEO for BBVA. Once again, BBVA is proud to be the presenting sponsor for 9 News Leader of the Year. Thank you to the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation, and thank you to 9 News for being such remarkable community partners. We are all on our very own leadership journey, and this last year certainly threw some new and unique challenges at us. I remember being on this stage at this very event last year, not realizing that it would be the last public event held in Denver for a full year. My personal leadership journey in 2020, I was reminded once again that no matter how many leadership books we read, no matter how many seminars we attend, good leadership comes down to being authentic and genuine. It's not about who can spend the most money, who can sponsor the most activities. To me, it's more about being committed to helping others, being genuine in your relationships, being authentic in our dealings with others, and in our community actions. Benjamin Franklin said, "Do well by doing good." I like that quote, and I strive every day to live by these important words. I can assure you, all 3 of the 9 News Leader of the Year finalists also live by these words. I would like to wish all 3 worthy finalists the very best of luck and thank them for all they have individually and collectively given to our community. And a big thanks to each of you, each and every one of you, who voted and helped to make this another successful and important Leading Colorado event. A special thanks to Elizabeth Pruch and Dan Lewis and the entire staff of the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation, and for all their hard work to recognize these worthy leaders.
Andy, thanks very much. Well, now we're going to get to meet our first 9 News Leader of the Year finalist. That's Adib Khan, presented by Coors Beverage Company. Now, for Adib, it's a matter of channeling his passion for providing equal opportunities for all Coloradans to his work. So now let's learn more about Adib.
For more than 2 centuries, Molson Coors has been brewing beverages that unite people to celebrate all of life's moments. We are committed to raising industry standards and leaving a positive imprint on our employees, consumers, communities, and the environment. Adib Khan is also dedicated to bringing people together and creating equitable opportunities for all. He is committed to doing the right thing, and as a result, Adib has left an indelible imprint on our community. Adib, thank you for your contributions to Colorado. Congratulations on being named a 9 News Leader of the Year finalist. We cheers to you.
We're going to encounter people who have different beliefs, whether that be political or religious or whatever it might be. Sometimes we need to put the differences aside and be guided by the desire and even the competition to do good for your community and for the people around you. With so many people struggling right now, the most important thing as a community is to support one another.
Adib has a very unique perspective about being an outsider, and I think that background and perspective gives him great insight into the concepts of inclusion, diversity, and equity. And so he has a heart for people who maybe have fallen through the cracks or maybe are outsiders looking in. And he very much wants to create a bigger table so that everyone has the opportunity to prosper.
Part of the work that I am involved in is to try and find ways to help more people from different backgrounds be able to access opportunity and prosperity, because there's so much talent in there that's been overlooked because of either historical discrimination or people just having the wrong prejudices in mind, whether it's conscious or unconscious. I grew up in a rural town, and my parents, are villagers from Pakistan who came here. My dad would wake me up ever since I was 7 years old every single morning in the summer and on the weekends to come help him do the work. And so it was part of our family culture that we work. And it definitely set the stage for me in my work ethic. I think setting big goals and pushing yourself is extremely important.
I don't think you can watch Adib for more than 5 minutes to understand the legacy that he brings from his family, the ethics and the morals that his family established in him. And then you just have to watch him be a dad right now and understand that what we're seeing is truly a family legacy of how you give back.
One of the things I've learned is that what we can do is really affect the community around us and focus our efforts on the people who are around us, the nonprofit network that's around us, to really drive change. What my commitment is to be resolute and doing my job and working diligently to help so many individuals who are struggling.
I think we should all be grateful that he has chosen to make his mark here, because he wants every single person in Colorado to be able to achieve their full potential.
I have never met anybody more relentless in his passion for serving the community. There is no one better than I know who deserves this recognition and this honor of a nominee this year than you. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Brough, President and CEO of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce. It's wonderful to be here with you today, celebrating Adib. What a great video, Jesse and Lori. You've heard in all of the presentations today, leadership is a word we throw around as if we all know exactly what it means. It's a hard word to define, though. Yet, what's clear, it's an easy word to attach to action. In other words, we know it when we see it. And I'm guessing we think about the definition of this word, we all associate different words with this trait. I want to share one aspect of how I define leadership because it's become particularly relevant to me this past year. Many times we associate leadership with a position. And trust me, I think it's very important that people really lead when they hold critical positions in our community. But I see leadership as something required of all of us. I don't think true leadership is positional at all. Early in my career, a definition of leadership that still really resonates for me today is true leadership is when you take people to a place we don't want to go. So let me share some examples of how I interpret that definition. And I'm going to ask that as I share those examples, you think about what happened in 2020 and how these might be relevant when you think of the pandemic, the tension that we were struggling with between getting people to work and protecting our health, or addressing racial and gender inequities in this last year. So let me start with a couple of those examples. One for me is giving feedback that might be hard for someone else to hear, but is critical to a person's success. I think that's leadership. The courage to directly address views or statements that we think are insensitive or might cause others pain. I think that's leadership. Confronting negative or destructive behaviors like gossip, I think takes courage and is leadership. Taking responsibility when we've made a mistake, I think that can be very hard to do, but I think it's leadership. Listening to someone who might be challenging a community-held view, and even creating space for that view to ensure it's part of the dialogue, even when we may not personally agree or hold that view, I think is real leadership. Staying respectful and holding others accountable to do the same when we disagree with each other, I think it's leadership. Failing to achieve a goal, and instead of looking for who to blame, we ask ourselves what we could have done differently and what our team could do differently to make that new goal. These are all behaviors that take both ourselves and others to a place we usually don't want to go. These are behaviors that either build teams or destroy them. They build community or diminish it. They strengthen organizations or they weaken us. What I love about these examples, though, is that these are behaviors that every single one of us has the power to implement. This past year was even more critical in my mind that each of us took responsibility to lead in spaces that required actions just like this. My wish for 2021 is even more of us understand the power we each have. The power to set the tone, to build the team, to increase impact, and to support our community. That we each take responsibility to lead just like those we're honoring here today have done. Before we meet our second finalist, I also want to take a minute to recognize and thank our Chamber trustees. These are incredible leaders for our state, and they are who help us do everything we do. So thank you, Betcher Foundation, Comcast, DaVita, First Bank, Health One, US Bank, VF Corporation, Wells Fargo, and Xcel Energy. We're so grateful. Our next 9 News Leader of the Year finalist is Jesse Ogus. This video is presented by KeyBank, and we're so thrilled to honor Jesse. For those who know him, you know he is committed to advocating and caring for those who are vulnerable. And that commitment has carried him through his career and his personal life. We're excited to get to know Jesse better through this video. Congratulations, Jesse.
At KeyBank, we're committed to helping clients and communities thrive. To us, that means doing business fairly and responsibly, promoting diversity and inclusion, and making meaningful investments in the places where we live and work. That's why we're proud to recognize 2021 9 News Leader of the Year finalist, Jesse Ogus. Jesse is passionate about giving voice to the voiceless, and he does so with integrity and compassion. Throughout his career, he has empowered others to lead and build relationships that make our community stronger. So on behalf of KeyBank, congratulations, Jesse. We're thankful for your work to help our community thrive.
Helping give a voice to the voiceless is something I'm extremely passionate about. I mean, my own experience, being sexually abused at the hand of a family friend, not being able to speak my truth, not being able to share that. I lived with that, and I still remember how that felt inside. My mom had a saying in Spanish, no hay mal porque bien no venga, which means there is nothing bad that good can't come out of.
If he believes in something strongly, he's successful in being able to influence others to see that mission and to recognize the importance.
For me, bringing a voice to whatever issue it is brings awareness. And when you raise awareness, people get involved, and that's where change happens.
So Jesse's heart is about helping people who are in the greatest of needs. And in Jesse's case, his connection to Firefly is really helping families and children who otherwise have no hope.
I've always believed that you have to empower your people. You have to listen, because you won't have your finger on the pulse of the organization without being a good listener, without empowering, and without allowing failure. Every step in my life, there have been points of failure for me. But from that failure, I picked myself right back up because I learned, and it made me better.
I've never seen him in a down mood, even when there are difficult times going on. It's a word of encouragement, it's a song. And at the same time, he can be working on some of the most significant financial challenges that you have in the nonprofit world. So I just think his general positive nature is what I have always seen as something which is exemplary to all of us.
I humbly call myself a leader because I have been privileged to work alongside some amazing individuals. My thing has always been surround myself with people who are smarter than me, who are better than me, because not only can I teach them, but they can teach me, and together we can build an unstoppable team.
Jesse really loves Colorado. He loves community, and he loves Denver.
And so for that, I think he's a great example of leadership throughout the Denver community and throughout the state of Colorado.
My friend Jesse, you deserve this. You are so compassionate and you care so much about people.
Just a couple of minutes ago, Dan had asked you to give to the Leading Colorado Scholarship Fund to help grow future leaders. Now, so far, we've seen just over $3,100 donated from 47 donors. You can see some of the names of people who did so listed on your screen. We thank them for all of their donations. But I have some exciting news, and that includes a challenge for all of you who are watching right now. Southwest Airlines is giving $5,000 to support this fund. So is there anyone who might want to match that? I know you can do it. Again, go to denverleadership.org/donate and you can give right now. In addition to the 9 News Leader of the Year finalists, we have some other individuals that we want to celebrate today, including some of the alumni who the Leadership Foundation recognized over the past year. The Networkers of the Quarter, you'll see them on your screen. These incredible Leadership Foundation alumni are making connections within our online community, and they're doing a great job with the network. To our Alumni Advisory Council members who will guide the strategic direction of alumni engagement as well, see their names right there on the screen as well. We congratulate each and every one of you. Our third 9 News Leader of the Year finalist is Lori Rabinowitz. Well, she's presented by TIAA. Lori's upbringing shaped her view of community, leading her to a career that was focused on inclusion and education. So let's take a minute and get to know Lori.
TIAA started over 100 years ago to ensure teachers could retire with dignity. That core purpose remains the cornerstone of who we are and what we do today. We believe in valuing our people, acting with integrity, helping each other succeed, and building a culture that allows everyone to contribute their unique skills and talents. 9 News Leader of the Year finalist Lori Rabinowitz holds those same values. She has built her career on the importance of collaboration, transparency, and making sure that everyone has a seat at the table. TIAA congratulates you, Lori. Thank you for all that you have done for our community.
One of the greatest opportunities that I have had in my life and continue to have is to get to hear people's stories and understand their narratives through their lens.
Lori just has always been that kind of person that she really wants to learn about where people come from.
I grew up in a community in Albuquerque, a multicultural community where the majority of my cultural influences were different than those into which I was born. I felt like the cultural influences that I was lucky enough to grow up with really shaped my life, and I still feel like that to this day. But I also now recognize that I haven't and can't fully understand the exact experiences that the closest people to me in my life have lived through.
She will talk about white fragility and white privilege. She also realizes that knowledge and learning is not the exact same thing as experiencing.
She doesn't claim to have all the answers, but she will work tirelessly to find the best response for people.
It's important to me to be an ally, to be an accomplice, to be an advocate, and to leverage connections and access in ways that lift and elevate. It's really, really important to gauge what we learn from our colleagues and what we learn from our students and what we learn from our families, especially in this environment where folks are feeling so disconnected. And I think all too often decisions are made for others instead of asking others what they think and what they would like to see done, and then actually doing that and taking that feedback.
She uses her privilege, and she's very intentional about that when she sits at those tables, she brings the community with her.
What can I do and what can we do as an organization to leverage the connections that we have, and how do we make those connections our students' connections and our staff's connections and uplift and elevate and amplify their voices. If there's not a seat for someone at the table, it's my responsibility to build that seat, to pull out that chair, to bring that voice and make sure that that is happening.
She just comes with, a tremendous breadth of skills and abilities, and she uses all of those for the benefit of our organization and our community.
I hold tremendous gratitude for the skills that I've been lucky enough to acquire over the course of time and the relationships that I've been lucky enough to build.
When you first told me about this award, I just chuckled because, of course, like, you are the perfect candidate for this award.
You're open, you're genuine, you're strong, and you're vulnerable at the same time.
I think you are an amazing leader. I continue to learn from you all of these years, and I'm just so proud of you. Congratulations.
Good afternoon. I am Curtis Esquivel, and I'm the Director of Communications and Community Engagement at the Boettcher Foundation. At Boettcher, we believe in the promise of Colorado and the potential of Coloradans. Our mission is focused on championing excellence by investing in our state's most talented citizens and high potential organizations. Today is a favorite annual event for so many, even though I didn't get my walk-up song, for so many of us because of what we're here to elevate, and that's leadership, and who we're here to elevate, and that's Colorado's doers and difference makers. Our work at Boettcher aligns so well with the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation's Colorado Leadership Alliance, which has been instrumental in lifting up leadership and supporting young people in their leadership journeys. The Alliance connects leadership programs from four-year colleges and universities across the state. In addition to the leadership they provide on their respective campuses, student participants attend an annual summit where they are exposed to community and statewide issues. Each year, the Boettcher Foundation partners with the Leadership Foundation to recognize one Student Leader of the Year among a handful of talented finalists. The winner sets a standard of excellence across four categories. Those are academic excellence, extraordinary support of their campus leadership program, exceptional community service, and outstanding character. College, as we know, is a critical time to cultivate leaders who are committed to serving others. And this year's Student Leader of the Year exemplifies this selfless spirit of service. I am honored to announce that Sarah Kamash of the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs is our 2021 Student Leader of the Year. And I'm listening and I can feel and hear through the sound waves your applause for Sarah, who joins us from her family's home in Colorado Springs. And Sarah, we're going to engage in some Q&A, which is a really nice treat, I think, for all of us today. And congratulations again. It's great to see you static to engage in a short Q&A so we can learn more about you. As the service coordinator of the Chancellor's Leadership class at UCCS, what project are you most proud of planning?
So I was lucky enough to start a new tradition at the Chancellor's Leadership class, which is our Alumni and Scholar Day of Service, which we connect our alumni network and the hundreds of alumni who graduated from our program to our scholars, where we participate in a day of service. And so in November, we did a Friendsgiving, which was virtual, and it was great. We raised, I think, 250 pounds of food for local food banks across the country. And we did a little Friendsgiving at the end of the day via Zoom. And it was just nice to be able to connect our scholars to our alumni and share our experiences from that day. And we'll hopefully do an Earth Day day of service in April. So this will be tradition from now on in CLC. So I'm excited.
Fantastic, and such important and fun work at the same time. You also established and became president of the first ever UCCS Middle East and Northern Africa Club. What inspired you to start this organization?
So I was born in Jordan, and I lived there for a few years before moving here to the United States with my family. And I'm a Muslim I come from a Muslim family. I am a Muslim as well. And I realized there was no community on campus for that group of people, and something I hold near and dear to my heart. It's part of my leadership identity that I absolutely love. And so I really wanted to foster a connection and communication and conversation between people from that part of the world and also people who aren't from that part of the world but want to have a discussion and conversation and learn about cultures, traditions, religions, so on and so forth of the Middle East and Northern Africa.
And thinking about your sort of international experiences, you've traveled to 15 countries. And how have those experiences internationally changed your perspective on leadership as you sit here today?
So they may not necessarily changed my perspective, but I was always brought up, my family values open-mindedness, and there's so much we can learn from people of different backgrounds and different cultures. And my international travel has really solidified that for me. It has become a core value in my leadership. I think when you're open-minded and you want to sit down and really listen to people who are from different parts of the world or have different backgrounds than you, there's so much you can learn. And whatever you're working on, whether it be personal, professional, that experience is just amplified when you're open-minded and you allow others to share their stories and their experiences with you.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. You know, we've talked a little bit, and Dan teed it up early about when we were talking about introspection and, you know, what we've been doing in our lives, especially the last year around community service and involvement. What would you say, all of your involvement and volunteerism, what has it taught you about yourself and the world around you?
I have learned that I am a lifelong learner. Most of my work is with kids. I volunteer in the 4th grade at my local elementary school, my old elementary school, matter of fact. And I was so surprised, but I learned just as much from the kids I worked with as much as I had taught them. I did not think that I could learn from 4th graders, but I can. And all the different service projects that I have been lucky enough to be a part of, I've learned from everyone who I've worked with, who I've collaborated with. And it's taught me that in the world, there is so much to learn every day, and you should take advantage of those opportunities, because you never know, that could benefit you in the future. It could be something new you learn. It's just, it's a great opportunity that I really hope everyone takes.
Great, that's important advice for all of us. Okay, our last question. We know you plan to graduate later this summer, so I want to say early congratulations. You will be earning your degree in biology. What are your plans post-graduation?
So I'm planning on either attending medical school in August 2021 or starting a master's in biomedical sciences for a year and then continuing to med school in 2022. I hope to become a pediatric surgeon. I love working with kids. So my next steps are more school, but I'm very excited.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and congratulations again. We look forward to following your leadership journey. We know you'll check back in with us as you really chart the course for your next chapter and beyond. So thanks for joining us today from Colorado Springs.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Sarah, as well. Boy, great to hear from a strong leader at the start of her journey. Sarah, as you can tell, has a very bright future ahead of her. So I wanted to catch up with you about the Scholarship Fund Challenge, and I know a lot of people were waiting for the end of the show when Lady Gaga's closing number was going to be played. She got held up in traffic. She's not going to be here, so go ahead and donate now. So get on the stick. We're trying to actually get the Southwest Airlines gift, and hopefully you can help out as well with that foundation. Of course, last November, the Leadership Foundation held the first Alumni Giving Day, and you really did step up then with 173 alumni from 35 Leadership Foundation programs all donated. The foundation doubled its goal, raising nearly $24,000, and the $10,000 challenge from the Coors Brewing Company. The total raised nearly $34,000 in one day. The Leadership Denver 2015 class raised the most money and had the most donors participate, so we congratulate the other classes that gave them a good run for their money, but the Leadership Denver classes of 2019 and 2010 came in a close second and third. So we want to hear from Leadership Denver 2015 and why this scholarship fund is so important. While you watch, a reminder that you too can go to denverleadership.org/donate and give now.
If you have a vision, you can really mobilize and energize and bring forward a community of leaders that will engage for the betterment of others and for the community.
I benefited from the trees that were planted by my father and my grandmother. And now, if I plant this, it'll be there for future generations. That obligation that we have to make sure that we're leaving a better place, a stronger place, a more opportunistic place for generations in front of us. That's what the Leading Colorado Scholarship Fund enables people to do.
It is an investment, and we need leaders more than ever. We hear so many people that come up that don't speak and align and have the voice that we need in the community. And so we have to shepherd and invest in the leaders that empower people that want to do more, not to tell you how to do it, but help you harness how the best way to align it and then point you in the right direction and then let you fly.
I give because I'm inspired. I give because I'm motivated. I give because I can.
I have never experienced such a journey myself. I have met some of the most incredible people. Even through all my 20+ years of corporate training, nothing has compared to the programs that I have gone through. The community engagement, the involvement, the network of individuals, the expertise, the type of leaders. It has been a powerful experience.
There are so many cities doing so many great things, but the level of pride that we take in Metro Denver is remarkable.
With that, we now close in on the moment that we've all been waiting for. So I'd like to introduce to you the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation Board President, Anthony Graves.
Thank you, Tom. This is very exciting. This is the Oscar moment for the Leadership Foundation. So this year we did something different. Rather than lining or limiting votes to only Leadership Foundation alumni and Denver Metro Chamber and B Civic members, we opened up voting to the entire community.
Well, that resulted in a terrific amount of numbers of guests. You really showed up for many people. There were the three leaders, Let Your Voices Be Known, 1,600 votes in all tallied up. So we want to thank everyone who did, in fact, vote this year.
Each finalist is exceptional in our book. And to thank them for their work, we are donating $1,000 in each of their names to the charities of their choice. Adib has chosen Colorado Village Collaborative, Jesse has chosen Firefly Autism, and Lori has chosen the Denver Scholarship Foundation.
So we'd like to have one big last virtual round of applause for our finalists, Adib, Jesse, and Lori, and thank them all for all that they've done. I have been given the envelope. So who is the 9 News Leader of the Year? Our winner is Jesse Ogus.
Thank you. Congratulations, Jesse. That's great. So first, oh, not yet. Oops.
Oh my God. Wow. First of all, Adib and Lori, what an amazing 2 other finalists to be up against. So I've said this before, I'm the biggest damn crybaby there is because I wear my emotions on my sleeve, right? But I think that's part of what my mom instilled in me. As most of you know, I lost her to COVID in December. And I I always say that I have to acknowledge her whenever any type of recognition is given. Because I wouldn't be the man I am today, and I wouldn't be the leader I am today, had it not been for the values she's instilled. I am so honored that you came out and supported all of us. 1,600 votes, holy moly, how cool is that? And to know that I was in this peer group is just amazing. I want to thank everybody, including my board, my staff, for the work that they do day in and day out here at Firefly Autism. It's truly the reason I'm here today, because of their work. And I always said this, and I said this in my video, that I shine when my team shines because they lift me up. They make me the leader that I am. And I'm just privileged and honored to be seated seated at the table to lead these amazing individuals that day in and day out work to change the lives of children and adults on the spectrum. For all of our partners, Maxine Elaine Apple, Carrie and John Morgridge, John Farnham, Christine Bonero, all those folks that have stepped up, Nancy and Sam Gary, we couldn't have done this without you. This new facility was made possible because of this team here and because of so many community partners. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this amazing, amazing gift and opportunity to be here. Thank you. I'm just so humbled.
Thank you, Jesse, and congratulations. First, on behalf of the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation's Board of Directors and dedicated staff, I would like to express our gratitude to 9 News, BBVA, and all our sponsors that are committed to shining a light on leaders in this community who are making a difference. Let me congratulate all the finalists and our Leader of the Year, Jesse, for setting an impeccable example for each of us. I know we have all been inspired by your stories and will rededicate ourselves to civic engagement. For our audience, if you have benefited from the Leadership Foundation's programs, I invite you to share this gift with someone new by making a personal gift to the foundation and by encouraging others to apply to our leadership programs. It falls to each of us to open the door a little wider and bring new audiences into our family, ensuring that everyone feels welcome and has a place. So far, we've raised $5,000, meeting our challenge. That's 71 donors. So here's a shout out to those folks who have donated just very recently and given in support of our scholarship fund already. See their names on the screen. So if you are new to the Leadership Foundation, a world of self-discovery and personal connection is waiting for you that will enhance your potential and help you positively impact our community. I encourage you to explore the possibilities by visiting denverleadership.org. As we prepare to draw our program to a close, I wanted to offer a few words to commemorate the occasion and underscore the importance of the Leadership Foundation's role in our community. For the Denver metro area, the Leadership Foundation is a defining force in our community that is a North Star in the midst of sweeping change. It cultivates a pipeline of capable and conscientious leaders who are prepared to respond to the crises of today and create a brighter future for tomorrow. The Leadership Foundation also stimulates meaningful dialogue through our programming that keeps our community talking even when communication is breaking down at the highest levels of our society. And when we are looking for answers, the Leadership Foundation gives us a safe place to brainstorm our way forward. Over the last year, we have all been reminded that this is a time for leadership. And leadership is a critical skill that must be leveraged in the context of what is happening in our society, be it a pandemic, economic crisis, or movement for racial justice. It is a powerful instrument forged through life's lessons, coaching, and education. It can be born in crisis, ignited by inspiration, or cultivated in a moment of clarity. Leadership can come from anywhere and anyone, no matter their gender, race, ability, sexual orientation, politics, religion, or social standing. But like any tool, it must be wielded responsibly and applied with altruism to have a positive and transformational impact. It is also true that the absence of leadership can be a catalyst for chaos, stagnation, and lost opportunity. So this begs the question, are we doing all that we can to prepare the leaders of the future? Are each of us doing enough to invest in the potential of others and prepare ourselves for greater responsibility when we are called to service? Are we making the time to mentor others, drop ladders, champion causes, and support one another? As Adib, Jesse, and Lori have shown us, we can do more. We can succeed together. There is no limit to our capacity to give, volunteer, fundraise, innovate, and solve problems. The Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation educates and inspires people who want to do more to make a difference as leaders in their community. Its portfolio of programs and supportive community of participants and alumni help to prepare leaders for their moment, their time in history, big or small, when they can step in to make a difference with sound, ethical, and inclusive leadership. Mary Lou Anderson, the cultural arts advocate and champion of gender equity, once said, "Leaders are called to stand in that lonely place between the no longer and the not yet, and intentionally make decisions that will bind, forge, move, and create history. We are not called to be popular. We are not called to be safe or called to follow. We are the ones called to take risks. We are the ones called to change attitudes, to risk displeasures, the ones called to gamble our lives for a better world." Here in Colorado, our community of leaders give life and shape to the values reflected in Ms. Anderson's words. We strive to model the behaviors that celebrate civility and elevate leadership through the principles of our civic DNA. The values of inclusivity, collaboration, shared vision, leadership, and responsibility provide a roadmap for a strong and productive region rich in innovation with a resilient economy that has a place for everyone. Each of you play an important role in shaping this institution's legacy and building a strong community. By being here today, you are helping to ensure that as the world shifts on its axis, the Leadership Foundation will continue to offer relevant and timely programming that will help leaders positively impact our region and lead where they stand. With that, we will now draw our program to a close. Thank you for attending the Leading Colorado Luncheon, and congratulations again to our finalists and the 9 News Leader of the Year, Jesse Ogas. Have a great afternoon.